Hey, Mango, you there?
Sup, Captain Hook? Worm?
I have got some great news.
You decided to change my name.
No, better than that. We won a Telly Award.
A smelly award?
No, not a Smelly Award, a Telly Award.
Oh, now that makes more sense. Why would they give you an award for smelling bad? Wait, do you smell bad?
No, I don't smell bad. At least I don't think I do. It's warm today.
Well, I wouldn't know. Somebody forgot to give me a note.
You don't have any ears, and you can hear me just fine.
True. So what's a Telly Award anyway? Is that something British people win for watching reruns of Downtown Abbey?
The Telly Awards are an international competition that celebrates video and television across all platforms. And Lake Log's series, The Greatness of Herons, won a bronze Telly in 2021. How cool is that? We're officially a award-winning production. And look, the statue, it has wings. That has wings. That's kind of weird.
You have a trophy out here with you. Now that's weird. I like the idea of a smelly award better. You know, for those who actually get to enjoy all of the five senses. Or what about a jelly award? That's given to the chef that's most jealous of someone else's winning jam recipe. Are jam and jelly the same thing? Or a belly award for the biggest beer gut. I know you've seen some of these fishermen out here. And have you looked in the mirror lately? Or a Kelly Award for the best use of a non-gender Irish-sounding name. You know, I once knew a John boat named Kelly. Wonder what happened to her. Him. Them. It was painted camouflage green. Had a little motor, too. I always liked the color green. Mangoes are green before they ripen. Now, was I green?
There's a guy in a canoe and he wants a word with you. It's mostly about birds. It's Lake Log. It's casual and conversational and slightly educational. Suburban lake navigation sparking thoughtful meditations that are mostly about birds. It's Lake Log.
My name is Dean, this is Lake Log, and this episode is about a bird that isn't here anymore, and another one that is, but would probably wish that you thought it wasn't. And if you think that sounds a little weird, you just watch me have a conversation with the talking canoe. Anyway, I've been thinking about a bird that none of us will ever see again. In November of 2021, I read the news that the Ivory Billed Woodpecker had finally been declared completely extinct. Gone, eradicated from the planet. And that got me thinking about other birds, and birds that I see all the time. And those questions led me down a rabbit hole of ornithological exploration, or should I say, woodpecker hole. That does sound better. Wild birds make up only 30% of all the birds on Earth, while the other 70% are poultry raised for food. Birds inhabit every part of the planet, but some parts of this world are changing so quickly that lots of species, including birds, are vanishing forever. Will other birds go extinct during my time? What about the birds I see every day in and around Lake Osborne? Will they become extinct too? In 2021 alone, 23 species from 19 different U.S. states were labeled as extinct. And this is why Lake Log is about birds and not, say, deer or bears or tigers or wild horses or even the enormous and extinct mastodon. Because those creatures, even though some still exist in other parts of the world, do not exist here. Birds do. Earlier in November, I was in New York City's American Museum of Natural History, looking at the animal species preserved there. Bones, teeth, skins, furs, a story of what once was and what is still living on the planet. And there was Archaeopteryx, which I talked about in episode 23. The first closest cousin to birds. It was smaller and more fragile than I imagined. And there was T. rex. It was bigger and scarier than I imagined. There were creatures on display from parts of the world that people may never get to visit, and there were also extinct creatures on display that no one will ever see again. I couldn't help but wonder if one day Lake Log will become a record of creatures no longer seen. And which bird is most likely to disappear from the planet next? Is it the one with the most exclusive diet, or the one that needs the most territory? I can't answer those questions. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy with a canoe who lives on a lake. But let's take a look down that woodpecker hole. The Ivory-billed woodpecker was 19 to 20 inches long, the third largest woodpecker in the world, with a wingspan of about 30 inches. That's big. Admired throughout human history, it was often referred to as the Lord God bird, because people would exclaim, "Holy Lord God!" when they saw it, or it was known as the Holy Grail of birding, not only because of its rarity, but also because of the cash bounties offered for documented sightings. These photos from 1935 by Arthur Allen are some of the last confirmed images of living ivory-billed woodpeckers. The ivory-billed was hunted, collected, shot by scientists who wanted to study it, shot by hunters to sell to taxidermists, its bills and mummified heads were used for adornment by humans, and now its only territory are glass cases and drawers in museums. Before the age of the camera, artists and ornithologists carefully recreated it in engravings and lithographs, like these, by John James Audubon. I like Audubon's attention to detail. I also like this more contemporary illustration by then 8-year-old Maya Frazier. It came in second in a 2013 Georgia poster contest. I love her message. She totally gets the lake log philosophy. The ivory-billed is now lost to time, but its beauty still continues to impress and inspire us. I came across this wonderfully detailed Audubon-inspired tattoo by Chicago area artist Ashley Wollaston. Then I found this fun t-shirt design by a company called Birdorable. It makes me wish that rather than hunt this amazing bird, our ancestors had just inked ivory-billed woodpecker designs on themselves and their clothing. In Arkansas, you can get a vehicle license plate with the ivory-billed on it. On Etsy, you can buy an ivory-billed woodpecker thong. That thong is a conversation starter, but the conversation is not going to be about birds. I came across this old map by ornithologist Edwin M. Hasbrook of what the last territory of the ivory-billed woodpecker looked like in 1891. This green part represents what was believed to be the active territory at the time, and the darker part here shows the area of previous but rare sightings. We are here. Looking at Hasbrook's map, I never assumed that any part of South Florida, or even the lake in my own neighborhood, was once prime real estate for the ivory-billed woodpecker, but it was. Hasbrook wrote in his paper, The Present Status of the Ivory-billed Woodpecker, that there was already concern in 1891, 130 years ago, that the ivory-billed was headed towards extinction. Hasbrook also details his own personal sighting in Central Florida of an ivory-billed woodpecker in the early winter of 1885. In an area on Juniper Creek, just east of this area on the Silver River, near Ocala. 136 years ago, Hasbrook recalled his fleeting encounter with this very rare bird.
Scattered through the swamp and giving a tropical air to the whole were countless palmettos, sable palmetto, towering to a height of 75 or 100 feet. And it was in a little clump of these that we were taking our nooning. Suddenly that strange note sounded once, twice, 3 times, approaching nearer with each repetition. It sounded exactly like the note of the white-bellied nuthatch, only much louder and stronger. And grasping my gun, I remarked that I was going to kill the biggest nuthatch on record. Hardly had the words left my lips when, with a bound and a cackle, a magnificent male ivory bill alighted in the trees directly over our heads. For a moment I was too astonished to speak. But in that moment, it was joined by its mate, and the two began hammering away at the palmetto trunks. It was impossible for me to shoot without changing my position, while to move would be to alarm the birds. Jim saw my dilemma and whispered that he could kill them from where he sat, So, passing him the gun, I watched him take aim. He fired but missed, and the woodpeckers bounded away into the thickest part of the swamp. Hastily snatching the gun, I started in pursuit, but failed to find them. Day after day, I returned to the same locality in hopes of securing them, but without success. And on April 7th, I was obliged to leave for home without adding this much coveted species to my collection.
If only he had a canoe with a camera mounted on it, right? Hasbrook concluded at the end of his paper that because the Ivory-Billed Woodpecker's territory was so swampy and undesirable for human development, that the bird would probably thrive for many, many years. And he was wrong. He should have stuck with his first hunch, because in less than 50 years, the Ivory-Billed Woodpecker was almost completely gone. And that got me thinking about some other things. Was the Ivory-Billed Woodpecker a victim of unregulated hunting, deforestation, or, like its distant cousins, the dinosaurs, was it just too big to survive? And then that led me to this. After studying 40 years of data, a group of scientists have noted that bird species in the Amazon rainforest are not only declining in numbers, but are changing physically too. Wings are getting longer while body mass is shrinking, possibly as a result of a warming climate and corresponding habitat loss. Their theory is that smaller bodies shed heat more rapidly, and this may be how birds are adapting to environmental change. This idea makes a certain amount of sense to me, as the most populous bird species on the planet right now is a very, very small one, the red-billed Quelia, a sparrow-sized species of sub-Saharan Africa. A single colony of Quelias can contain millions of individuals. Small bird. Huge numbers, but better chances? Does that mean that all big birds are doomed? I can't answer that, but habitat loss on any scale, great and small, affects all birds, great and small. And typically, the bigger the bird, the bigger the habitat it requires. So why talk about birds that aren't even here? It's so that we can understand the ones that are. And that brings us to the bird that is here, but kind of isn't, the mysterious night heron. The night heron. Woo! I've recorded a fair number of night herons over the past year or so. We mostly see the black-crowned night heron around here, but I really don't know much about them. And I really couldn't find much in my research either. But there are a few interesting facts about night herons. John James Audubon also called it the quaw bird because of a common sound it makes. Night herons are nocturnal hunters, as the name implies, but can also be seen hunting at dawn and dusk. I recorded this one on a very chilly night in January, as it was dining on a snake. Lighting up birds at night is not a very nice thing to do, and so I wouldn't recommend anybody do it. It can disorient them and stress them out. And you know how I'm always griping about lake trash getting in my shots? That's a liquor bottle right there, and I'm sure it's not the result of a late-night night heron party. During the day, they are fairly slow-moving and lethargic, napping in the trees out of sight. On cold mornings, you can find them standing in the warm sunlight, looking sleepy-eyed. Mature night herons are large members of the heron family, about 22 inches in length, although their neck is usually tucked in tightly, making them seem short and stout. They have a wingspan of about 40 inches or so, which is impressive when you get to see it. They nest in trees near the water, but I have yet to see a nesting night heron. The young leave the nest a month after hatching and will spend the next 2 weeks walking everywhere they go, only learning to fly at 6 weeks. A breeding night heron will raise any chick placed in its nest, no matter the species, and they are also reported to hunt by dropping food on the surface of the water to attract small fish, much like the green heron does. Black-crowned night herons are migratory but are year-round residents of Lake Osborne. I have yet to see its cousin, the yellow-crowned night heron here. Here's one I recorded on the Silver River near Ocala. I was happy to see it, after seeing one for the first time in the Bahamas over the summer of 21. This passing kayaker didn't think it was that spectacular, but it was a cold morning, and the yellow-crowned night heron didn't seem to care either. Later that morning I recorded this black-crown. Their plumage starts as a mottled gray-brown, and then changes when they are mature to their signature look. Soft gray and white on the body and wingtips, with a black cape and a black cap on the top of the head.
Now, I like to try and identify the young ones because sometimes they look a lot like a young green heron or a bittern. The young night heron has a yellow eye and a yellow and black beak. And when they get older, the beak is all black and the eyes turn bright red. My favorite color.
So, hey, how did you know that about the red eyes?
I pay attention. You've been paddling me around this lake for almost 20 years. You don't think I see stuff? And maybe their eyes are red because they can't get any sleep with you splashing around in the morning trying to take their picture.
Fair enough. And here's the young one Mango was talking about. I recorded this one on a warm morning in September here on Lake Osborne, and I got pretty close. So close that an adult, probably a parent, made a low pass over my head to try and scare me away. What I wanted was a better shot, and what it wanted was to be left alone. What we sometimes see as an unkempt, unusable tangle of underbrush and aquatic plants growing in mucky, weedy-looking water is in reality a fragile and shrinking home to a diverse amount of wildlife, and this goes without saying. The human species' freedom to improve and preserve quality of life while enjoying natural spaces requires an awareness of the native living species that make it all the more enjoyable. And so why is Lake Log always about birds? Because birds might be the last wild animals we share this space with. Scientists often regard birds as good indicators of things to come. They are the canaries in the coal mine. So if the black-crowned night heron disappears from Lake Osborne or any other suburban natural area, we should pay attention, because as I learned in a museum, extinction is not exclusive to animals. I can't answer those questions. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy with a canoe who lives on a lake. But we can take a look down that woodpecker hole. Ready? But we can take a look down that woodpecker hole. Let's go. So stupid. Bird here, bird gone. Bird here, bird gone. You Mr. Miyagi.